So next step on this block is we are going to run the ball hone through it. I bought a new ball hone. I had a 3-finger one. Don't like how that really works. We are going to do a little more on the oil returns also. And I decided that I'm not going to put the restrictors in the bottom end. And I've always done that, but there's so many things out there saying don't do it now. Like I said, it is a street engine, you know, 500 lift cam. It's not like it's huge. So we're going to just do a little more oil return work and send it. So let's run this ball hone through here. We got some fresh transmission fluid. Put that on the cylinders. Always use transmission fluid. Some people use cutting oil. Transmission fluid is very cheap, so this is a brand new ball hone. It's supposed to be for 4-inch to 4.250, 4 1/4. So that's a pretty big range. Hopefully it's not too tight. Like I said, we're gonna just run it up and down here just a little tiny bit, not a lot. I did wipe the cylinders out beforehand, and yeah, let's see what happens here. Let's try to do number 1 cylinder and see what happens. Let's get it in there a little bit. I don't want to do much because, like I said, it is a stock 4. Oh yeah, wow, night and day from that other one. Night and day. Wow, very nice. Just that little bit, that's all. All right, let's get the other ones done. Doing 6 passes, 6 up and downs is what I'm doing, and it seems to that was 7. All right, let's see how these other ones look. Like I said, it's just very quick because the bores are standard. I don't want to punch them out and do too much. Oh yeah, got a nice little hone in there. That should work fine. Wow, what a difference between that other one. Still got a little tiny ridge on top, but that's normal for a standard block. All right, let me show you. Nice cross hatch in there, not too bad. I might go over it one more time a little faster, just up and down, just to, they say not to go too fast. All right, let's try that. And we're gonna kick the drill onto high and just do a couple up and downs with it to get a little bit better crosshatch to it. Ready? Okay. is dying. All right, you gotta get a battery. Let's see what that did though. Oh yeah. Hopefully it's not too much. Hopefully we didn't just bore it 5 over. Or I should say hone it 5 over. That last one I pulled it out without it spinning. So I'm just gonna hit that real quick. Probably wouldn't make a difference, but all right. And what we'll do is, which is kind of a waste because it is a stock rebuild, what we'll probably do is we will measure our rings, see how much end gap we have, just for the heck of it. All right, I'm not going to bore you with doing the other 4 holes. It's about how we do it. We're going to drill these out a little bit bigger and just do a little more return work on that, and then wash the block out again for the 3rd time, and we're going to send it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I like that. Much better. All right, we'll pick you up probably when we start assembling. All right, today we are going to try to fit this crank. Let's see what we got here. Everything is nice and clean. We just took it out of the bag. We are going to wipe down the saddles with these lint-free rags and a little bit of brake clean. Make sure everything's good and clean. Got a little bit of residual oil on from when we cleaned it and then I sprayed it. We'll wipe that off too. Not going to hurt anything. Now let me know in the comments. I knew a guy back in the day that swore that you had to put oil on here before you put the actual bearing in. That makes absolutely no sense to me. Why would you want to create another barrier? But I don't know. I mean, like I said, he used to race roundy round cars. Probably just creating more dust, but it is what it is. I like to blow out anything. I am not putting these restrictors in. I've always used them in the past. Done a lot of research in the past couple weeks, and everybody says it's useless. So we're not going to use them. So we're going to put these screw and studs in. I did pre-lube these with ARP fastening assembly lube. I wiped them all on, and then I'm just putting a little oil on the threads going in to the block. Now I had done research on this also because some of these that I had test fit before, they don't bottom out. Now all we're going to do is drop this crank in and get a feel on what the clearances are. Clean this off. And we will do some plastic gauge on it. So all these I have numbered because I pre-fit them. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to put everything in dry first because we're going to do a plastic gauge test. This is number 4. Come on. Now this is going to be, this is the thrust bearing. See, it's a little bit different. Just sometimes a little harder to get in. Okay, and then number 2. And you can see the difference between the thrust bearing and a regular bearing. Number 2. And then number 1. And number 1 gets a regular bearing on the top, but a solid bearing on the actual main cap. So I'm looking here. There's a couple little places where the oil, it lines up pretty well all in all. There's a couple I could have probably done a little bit more work there, but I'm not going to do it now because everything has been cleaned and it is what it is at this point. So let's get this crank out. We are going to spray it down. This had oil on it. And what we're going to do is we're going to spray it down with some brake clean. So we'll do that real fast. And I did clean the passages out with a brush when I cleaned everything after I polished it. Like I said, all we're doing now is test fitting. So let me blow this off real quick. Yeah, it's not the most sanitary place in the world, but it'll work. I've done worse. You know, when they build these engines, my buddy Jack used to work at SLP, and my buddy George also. He used to build the original engines by hand for the Firehawks, my buddy George. And he said they had a room that was like a surgical room where everything was sterile. They wore head stuff. It was pretty neat. But like I said, I'm not that I don't have that kind of area, but like I said, I've kind of done worse, so it'll be fine. Let's drop this crank in. I left the flywheel on, make it easier. Come on. There we go. Now there is no oil on this at all. So what I'm going to do now is going to set the bearings into the caps. And like I said, everybody's got a different way of doing things. And I know there's better ways than the way I do it, but this is the way I've always done it. And I've put together multiple engines, so we're going to go with what I know. I'm not putting the rear seal in yet. We'll set all these caps up with the it's number 4. That's number 3 should be the thrust. And they are numbered on the cap, and then the tabs always go right towards each other. Some people say, oh, you got to put them on the opposite side. No, you don't. So number 2 is a full groove. And this is kind of different, Oldsmobile. That's number 2 cap. And number 1 is a solid, no groove. Make sure I got the right. Yeah, I need seeing glasses. All right, so now, like I said, this is dry. So what I am going to do, now I had a problem last time with when I did the plastic gauge once before. I had a problem getting it off of the bearing, so I am going to spray a little bit of oil, just a drop where we're not spinning the crank now. So like I said, I had a problem with it once before where it actually stuck to the bearing too much. And I had a hard time getting it off, so just a little bit to keep it from sticking. Not a huge amount by any means. And it's just PB Blaster multi-purpose oil. Okay. So let's do this one first. So we are going for about 3 thousandths. Can be up to 4. 4 is a little loose. Can be as low as 2. But this goes 2 to 6. And all it is, if you don't know what plastic gauge is, you know what, I think I'm going to take my gloves off for this, because this is very fine. Take my gloves off, get dirty like a real man. Oh, plastic gauge, it's basically like dental floss kind of. And you take a piece, you place it on the crank. I'm doing each section just to, like I said, I'm not sure, 100% sure on this crank. So if this was everything that I knew that was a running engine, I just took it apart. But like I said, I'm kind of mix matching some stuff here. So, which I normally wouldn't do, but this is what I have. Uh-oh. Where'd that piece go? Oh, it fell on the floor. We don't want to use that. Back piece. And then a tiny piece there. Come on, get off my finger. Okay. All right, each main journal has a piece on it now. Now what we will do is we will put our caps on. And we will actually torque these down to proper sequence. Okay. That one at number 4. See that? Pay attention. I had it backwards. Luckily I didn't try it. Well, the rear cap you can't put backwards. But pay attention to what you're doing. Okay. Then the thrust. They only will go on pretty much one way. But like I said, you gotta pay attention to what you're doing. I'm definitely not rushing, which I usually do, but with this stuff, I don't. And like I said, we're not going to turn the crank. We're not doing, all we're getting is some measurements here. So what we're going to do is take our washers, which are pre-lubed already, and put them on. Each one gets a washer. And with these washers, there's no up or down. With some, I know the head bolts, they have an up and a down. They're chamfered. And I did mark these. I don't know why. This way I know what nut came from. It really probably doesn't matter. That's just me being anal, I guess. And what we'll do is we'll snug them down with a little impact and then torque them down. They have to be 110. So we'll do that in a couple stages. All right, that's all the nuts. See, we didn't put our rear main seal in. If there's any Oldsmobile guys out there, if you don't know, a Ford 460 makes a neoprene rear main seal, so you don't have to use a rope seal. All these motors came with rope seals for the rear main, which always leaked. So you use a neoprene, and like I said, a 460 Ford is the same, so that's the one you actually order when you get one. All right, let's see. We are going to snug these up with the little impact, and we'll start in the middle. Now this only torques to about 40. So that's about 40 foot-pounds. What we're going to do, we have a brand new click type wrench that I bought. I had my buddy Gus's Snap-on for years, and I actually have a Proto one, but for some reason the last motor I did many years ago, the Proto one, I actually broke a main bolt, not a stud. So I won't use that anymore. Something wasn't right with that. But so back in the day, and from what I did a lot of research on this. This is an old beam wrench, torque wrench, that I've had for probably 40 years. I think I bought it at a garage sale. From what I understand, if you talk to engineers, these are actually the most accurate thing besides a click wrench. This is how all the motors were put together in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and earlier. So they are very, very accurate. I'm just going to snug these up. I'm going to do it to 60. I do like the click wrench. It's a lot better. And I will, when I do my final torquing for the final assembly, I will double check with that. But like I said, I've used this before in the past. not in many years, but. And the whole thing with this is to do, and really any torque wrench, to do an even pull. Once you start, you keep going. All right, so we're to 60. Now we're going to go up to about 85-ish. And like I said, I don't have it really marked well on here. This is just a rough, because we're just checking our clearances. And then, as you can see, I have tape at 110. So now I will go up to my 110. Might actually have to hold the engine stand. All right, here we go. 110. Okay, one more. Try to keep the motor level. It just makes it a little more accurate. All right, that's cranked, torque down to 110. Now what we're going to do is we're going to loosen everything up again, take the caps off, and check our clearances with our. So, all right, yeah, check our clearances. Sorry, I got a little distracted. All right, now let's loosen these back up. You know what? Let's not use that. We will use this. It's at 110. This isn't on. This is just using it as a breaker bar now. And I always do from the center and work my way out. I just lied to you. No, I guess I did it right. I don't know. But we're just loosening it. Sorry, the engine's moved a little bit. Get it back in focus for you here. I have a couple marks where the exact area is, so you can get the best view. I know it's not a great view, but let's hopefully we can get the rest of these off. Nope. See, that one, the stud came out, and I thought I had it stuck in there or not. That one too. Nope. Nope. Yep. Nope. Got a couple of them. I still got to loosen a little bit more. Like I said, that little impact I have only does about 40, maybe 50. All right, now what we are going to do is we're going to take these nuts off, remove your nuts. And I'm just going to place the nuts over here in the sequence they were for no good reason, because I don't think it makes a difference, but that's me. probably just fast forward through all this. This is just kind of tedious. This crank looks alright. It polished up okay. It's not the greatest. It is smooth. It's got some little pitting in it, but like I said before a million times, I've put together way worse engines that I raced for many years, and they all held together pretty well. Really, I never threw a rod or anything in all my years of racing and all my passes. And Oldsmobiles are known to throw rods, but never had that problem. Had pistons crack, sucked a valve once, but other than that, I've never. The only motor that ever blew up was my original 455 that was in the 78, and that sucked a valve on top end on a 1220 pass, 1230 pass. It sucked a valve, and that was the end of that motor. And that was just a G-head motor, which is basically the same heads that this will have. They were fully ported. These heads aren't going to be fully ported. Alright, now that we got all kinds of assembly lube on us, now we take the caps off and look at what the plastic gauge is saying, basically. This can be a little tricky getting this off because of the studs. Usually you can tap it. Should probably use a dead blow hammer. Come on. Come on. Almost there. Gonna fight me all the way. Come on. A little struggle fest. You know, if I take these studs out, just take them out, it'll come right out. Sometimes you can pull them off, but guess we're not doing that. So we'll take the stud out, put it there. All right. So there's the mark on the bearing. I will wipe that off. And there is the mark on the crank. So let's see. Let's get a good idea of what's what here. I'm gonna say it's probably 2.5 thousandths of an inch. You know, I don't know how it would be tight, to tell you the truth, because this crank has been polished, and but let's look at another one. I'll show you this one, and then I'm gonna put you down and not bore you with all this until we're actually putting the motor together. Okay. All right, that's a clearer one. Let's put that to the side. Measure this one. And like I said, there's little measurements right on the plastic gauge. So it's very dummy proof. And that one's right at 3 thousandths. So I think, like I said, I'll pull the rest of these off and check them, and then I'll pick you up once I'm actually setting the crank in. I'm pretty sure these are between 2 and 3 thousandths, so we'll go with that. And like I said, we will pick you back up when we start putting the crank in. Put a little right on the bearing and then smear it around. And this keeps it so if you don't start it up, you know, in the next couple days or weeks or whatever, it won't go anywhere, which is good. It's actually really, a lot of people put it on with a brush. I don't trust those little brushes. The hairs come off of it. So I don't like using those brushes. I just kind of get my finger in it. Make sure to get your thrust bearing coated and just put a nice coat on everything. You don't want it too heavy, too thick, but you want it so it's on there. Let me know in the comments what you prefer to use when you're putting a crankshaft in. Some people, I mean, the old timers just use regular motor oil, and that was fine, and then just made sure they primed the motor before they started it. Also, don't forget your rear main seal. Very important. Make sure you put a little lube on that. You don't want that to be totally dry. And I don't know if you can see, but how I did the rear main seal is actually staggered because you don't want seam on seam. So what we'll do is when we put the bottom pieces, which is the top on this, we will put a little dab of RTV on the ends to seal it. And that's the proper way, supposedly. That's how I've done it for years, so we shall see. All right, let's get this crankshaft. I have it all cleaned up again. I wiped it down again. And let's drop this in and get this sucker going. All right. Yeah. Wow, that's heavy. Okay. There we go. And so the thrust bearings in the middle here, I can see that it I don't know, I can't tell exactly. I'm guessing probably 5 to 8 thousandths just by looking at it. Could be wrong, but at this point it is what it is, so we're going with it. So like I said, everything else with the plastic gauge spec'd out good, which I was happy. My bores are a little on the loose side, but it'd be good for blower nitrous. Not that I'm going to do that. All right, let's put these caps on. Same thing. Got to oil them. Put the assembly lube on them. And I just see how sticky it is. Then I just rub my finger on it. Alrighty. Thrust bearing first. I'm just going to set them in there. I'm going to get them all set and then go from there. And I did wipe off the excess plastic gauge with some brake clean that was left over on the bearing surface. You're going to have to get more of this assembly lube. Well, actually, I do have, I like using this for bearings. And in the past, many times, probably the first 10 engines I ever did, I used STP oil treatment and never ever had a problem with that. The new lubricants are better, of course, but you know, like I said, back in the day, they put them together with just plain old oil. So, all right, this is the one. Now what we're gonna do, let me clean my finger off here. We are gonna put a dab of RTV on the end here. Just a little dab, doesn't have to be a lot. And we're going to fit that onto the crank. I should, but I'm not. I should put it on the cap. Make sure it's faced so your oil run stays in, not out. So facing it the right way is critical. Okay. There we go. That's a nice fit. Let's see if we can get this last cap on. We'll be a little liberal with the assembly lube on this one. This is actually a wider bearing. That's a little too much. That's all right. Rather have too much than not enough. All right. Let's set this on here and make sure that our rear main goes right in. Got it. All right. Now let's tap these down. Like I said, I don't have my dead blow hammer. This will work. Bingo, bango. And then let's turn this a little bit to get to this one. I'm sure there'll be a million comments about hitting that metal to metal, but like I said, I've done it that way many times, and I'm sure it does something bad. But these do have assembly lube on them already. I'm also going to put a dab of oil on them. The original torque specs for these are 120, and it was supposed to be torqued with regular plain old oil. Of course, back in the day, they didn't have assembly lube, so... We'll put, like I said, we got the assembly lube I have is old, and it seems like it's a little dry. I don't know if it would make a difference or not, probably, but we use a little oil too. All right, now we're going to put a little bit and this is regular 1030 motor oil, nothing special. It is clean. It was out of a fresh quart. Always, oh, uh-oh, didn't hit the ground. Where did I go? There it is. Always use brand new stuff, because I'm not. When it comes to assembly lube and everything, all this stuff has been sealed, so it's not like it's bad. And it is oil. It probably doesn't go bad, but it is lubricant. All right, so what we're going to do now is we are going to take our little impact and just run these down to about 40 or 50. All right, next thing we do is make sure our crank turns. I did do this once and the crank wouldn't turn, and took it all apart, reassembled it, and it was fine. I have no idea what happened, but it scared the heck out of me. Now it's going to be a little tight because of the rear main seal in there. And I use thick oil too, so. So this thrust bearing, come on, really? This thrust bearing, you want to make sure is centered properly. So what you do is keep this a little loose. Let me go get a pry bar, hang tight. I'm going to pry on the back a little bit. And then pry here, just to go back and forth to set that. Spin it a couple times. Now I've done it without doing this. I never had a problem, but all the big engine builders, supposedly that's what they do. Oh yeah. Like I said, that oil, that assembly lube is very thick. Guys that put them together with motor oil, hang tight. Guys that put them together with motor oil, you can take the crank and go zoom if everything's good on it. So what we're going to do next is we are going to torque it to about 60, and let's use our beam wrench. We're going to use our beam wrench. I like this. It's old school. All right, like I said, start in the middle. 60, 60, 60, 60, 60, 60, 60, 60, 60, and 60. Now what we're going to do is we're going to spin our crank again. Make sure everything still rotates easily. See, I can actually, well, you're not going to be able to see it from there, but I can see what my thrust bearing, I can actually hear it because that stuff's so sticky. So, should be good. Like I said, I didn't even put a feeler gauge in on it because it is what it is. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go up to about 85, and then our final torque. All right, here we go, 85. It's probably more like 80. All right, I like using this. Haven't used one in many, many years. All right, now we're going to do our final torque to 110. I'm going to use this. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm crazy. But I'm going to use this, and then I'll double check it with the click wrench. But like I said, this is what everybody used for many, many years. So see if we can get this. Okay. Wow. Okay. Okay. And then this one we'll get from this side because the engine is moving. Okay. All right. Let's put her back in her spot. And then we will check it with the... Uh-oh. Oh, we lost our little thingy. Our little ball bearing. Yeah, we don't want that falling in the motor, that's for sure. I'll hang that back there. Let's take our new click wrench. Spin that a couple times. That spins nice. Means our clearances are pretty good. So we just loosen this up. We're going to turn it up to, ooh, too much. 110. Then we lock it down. And let's see what this says. Got a tiny bit on that. I think it's pretty damn accurate. Now, who knows how accurate this is? Because it is probably made in China. All right, let's do this in the back. I did get a little tiny bit on that. Take the pressure off again, and we're going with it. All right, so that's the crankshaft. Crankshaft is in. Now what we'll do is we will put some rings on the pistons and then start assembling the pistons into the bottom end. All right, that went pretty good. All right, so we just found a major problem. We were going to fit a piston in #1 cylinder and check the rod bearing clearance. I took all my pistons, laid them out. Now granted, they are used, but these rods were pressed on there, and you can see they have yellow dots on them. Well, the machinist that did it obviously didn't have a clue, because if you look, the top of the piston says front. Well, when you turn the front of the piston towards the front, the notches on the bearing are outward. Notches on the bearings always go towards the camshaft. So I guess what we're going to have to do is somehow we're going to have to press these off, heat them, press them off, and then turn the pistons around, which I've done it once, but it's a real pain in the neck without the right thing to do. So either that or I bring it to the machine shop, which would just delay things even more. All right, so it's going to put a stop on this for now. Let's see what we can do here, and we'll go from there. Maybe still fit this side, I don't know. But like I said, I can only all the pistons are lined up for one side and one side only, which is just dumb. All right. What do you do, right?